Hi, this is Joakim from Necrophobic, and you are watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 220 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Joakim Sterner from the almighty Necrophobic. How are you doing today, man? Great to be able to talk with you today.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Putting in
Anytime.
a Swedish tobacco there.
It's great, man. So, kind of the format is I want to talk about your musical history and do a rundown of the discography. So, take it back to young Joakim. So, kind of growing up, what were the first bands that got you into metal and what made you want to start playing drums?
Um, what made me connecting to heavy metal music was Iron Maiden. I was at a summer camp a few miles from Stockholm, um, and I shared a room with a guy that played me this cassette, and was the heaviest guitars and the heaviest drums I ever heard. So instantly, when I came back for the summer camp, I asked my mom, "You have to drive me to a record store," and then they had three albums. It was 1982, so the Number of the Beast was just released, and I didn't know which one to choose. Uh, Luckily, I chose the Number of the Beast, but and then I went back there a few weeks after bought the other two. So it started from summer camp.
Nice.
Um, what, yeah, then what made me play drums? I think it was in music class. And the music teacher, they wondered if we wanted to try the instruments for doing songs together. And David, who formed this band with, he was already playing guitar. So I picked the drums, and there was one other guy in the class that also wanted to play drums. But the music teacher said that I have better feel for it, and I had I was allowed to play a lot more than he did. And yeah, I had a girlfriend that has had a younger brother who had drums in his basement. So yeah, I started to play a bit on his drums. And then when we formed the band, the only instrument that was left was drums. So I was stuck with drums.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
cool. So I was like doing my research on Metal Archives. I believe your first two bands were Ferocity and Psychodeath. Like, tell me about that. I don't think nobody's ever asked you about that.
No, those bands are not so serious. Ferocity, it actually is necrophobic, but prior to that, we didn't know. We just formed the band and didn't know what to name it and didn't know how to play. But we wanted to start with something, so we came up with a name. Then in '89, we actually found a rehearsal place and started to rehearse. And yeah, there was a lot of different band names that came up, and Necrophobic was the one that, yeah, we all agreed on it, even though most of the band didn't. Yeah, it was not the best band name, but yeah, it was connected to Slayer, so I guess it's fine, so to speak.
Right. And this year
Yeah,
does,
that was how we reasoned with each other.
right. And this year does mark 35 years of the formation of the band. You got to think 35 years of Necrophobic. Like, did you think you would be around for 3.5 decades?
No, actually, I didn't. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. When you are 20, I don't know when you think old people are, how old people are when you think as a 20-year-old. Those are old. I don't know, but I didn't know I was going to play drums in a death black metal band when I was 50, back
Yeah.
when I was 20.
Yeah. Yeah. But tell me about some of those like early demos, like Realm of Terror, Slow Asphyxiation, and Unholy Prophecies. Like, I was listening to those earlier in prep for the interview. So, where were those recorded at? It just sounds very raw sounding.
Yeah, Yeah, we had this song, Realm of Terror, is the first song that we wrote. No, it was actually not. I just found out that we had a song prior to that, even though it wasn't with vocals. I found it last year when I was searching for bonus material for our re-releases. Yeah, but Realm of Terror was the first song with vocals, with lyrics that we wrote. And there was a guy working there who liked to record the bands that rehearsed there. So we recorded that song, and we printed a few copies of that and made a stupid-looking cover to it. And yeah, we actually, I had contact with someone called Richard C. in Los Angeles, having Wild Rags Records. And we sent him 10 copies. So there was 10 copies of that cassette sent. I don't now it's bootlegged, or I cannot tell if a copy is original anymore. Anyway, it was a four channel recording. Do you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah. It was a 4-channel recording, the very first recording we ever did. Sounds terrible. And then, yeah, what else?
Yeah, then there was also the Slow Asphyxiation demo, which has a Realm of Terror, but I think y'all like re-recorded it.
Yeah, that was in a real studio. There was a booked studio in a real studio. It was 16 channels, or was it 24? I don't know. A band called Nihilist, later Entombed, they had found this studio and have recorded their demo round there. So we booked it because it was close by where we lived. And again, it was, the second time we recorded something. So yeah, I cannot say that we were very, how to come up with sounds and stuff. We just recorded it, and we totally relied on the producer or the engineer there. So we thought we were going to sound killer, but we didn't.
That's great, man.
Even though the songs are great, but no, not great, but the songs are good, but I think they have maybe sounded good, greater in another studio. Yeah.
Make
So
it sound like more refined.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course the last demo, Unholy Prophecies, is another good demo. And I feel like you all, like, with the demos, I feel like you're trying to like find like the sound that Necrophobic would eventually solidify.
That demo maybe sound more brutal than we maybe intended to sound, but then there we worked with another guy. Thomas Skogsberg is known for his productions and his studio. But then also we have developed a bit as musicians and playing style and more coming up with more ideas ourselves. So it sounded, of course, better than the previous recordings we have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got the Call EP, which came out in January of '93, and last year was of course the 30-year anniversary of that. So what was sort of like the memory, sort of like recording that EP?
Yeah, we knew that it's going to be a vinyl, so it was big success. No, but we were thrilled that it's going to be released as a vinyl. So I don't know. I don't know so much. I don't remember so much from the actual recording. Again, it was Sunlight Studios. Yeah, and more have become better musicians, but again, I don't recall anything special from that recording session. It was one day in the studio, more or less. And I had become friends with an artist that helped us paint the cover for it. So it has a good-looking front cover. And it was supposed to be released half a year earlier, or maybe we recorded very early in '92. It was supposed to come in the spring or something, but it took 1 year from when we entered the studio until we got the final product in our hands.
Wow. And then, of course, that same year you got signed to your second label, Black Mark Production. Like, how did they find Necrophobic?
They didn't find us. We found them. No, but at that time we started to send our demos and yeah, recording of the single, and sent that to a lot of record companies. And I think Black Mark was one, Nuclear Blast, Century Media, and Peaceville, and one more, I've forgotten. We got a few contracts from other labels that we hadn't heard about, and I don't have heard anything about them today either. But we turned those offers down, and yeah, Black Mark was the only one of the labels that responded positively. So we ended up signing to them. We made 3 albums with Black Mark.
Yeah, and of course, the first one talking about is the Nocturnal Silence, which of course last year was, of course, the 30-year anniversary of that. So, what was like the thought process going into making like the debut Necrophobic full-length album?
Yeah, it was a milestone. You were very excited and thrilled about the situation you have come in. Every band didn't get signed or don't get signed, so it was a privilege to be signed to a record label. So we booked Sunlight Studio again for 2 weeks in March '93. Don't know so much about the actual recording sessions. Yeah, you go there and you record there, and you sit and wait there, and you listen to the other musicians, band members recording their stuff. So there's nothing really happening in the studio, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Rather than discussing or music and sounds, and
yeah, but I still think Nocturnal Silence, in my opinion, is a very underrated death metal debut album with a little hint of the thrash. And I just love how you had, of course, the late great Black Moon, rest in peace. So, what was that like working with him?
Yes, it was. He was a great guitar player, much better than most of the guitar players at that time. He was, yeah, he had skills, and he lived with his guitar, played it every woke minute, I guess. So he was way before, no, way ahead, I mean, of other guitar players at that time. But it was also a bit tricky to work with him, because yeah, he when he wrote the riff, and I was like, "Oh, what was that? It was a great riff." No, it wasn't, and he refused to play it anymore. So it's, he decided what was going to be used or not be used, and yeah, you had it was bit. It took longer for us to write songs than it should have been taken.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It was
he was
quality stuff, and he worked that way, and I guess it's good also. You should be self-critical, but if there's three other members in the band thinking this is really great stuff, yeah, sometimes he agreed with it, and we used it, but most often he threw it in the bin, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was like a great guitarist. It's sad that almost it's coming up on 11 years since we lost him. So, is there like any like fun memories that you had working with him?
Uh, Not working with him, maybe. So I have, me and him went to the same class since we were 10 years. We didn't hang out so much when we were 10 years. But we found each other later on because both of us was wearing heavy metal T-shirts. So, let's talk more. But I have fun memories outside the band, as we were more friends than, not more friends, but we were friends also, not just band friends. So, but I have great memories
Awesome.
with him.
And then when you put out the Nocturnal Silence, did you start like touring outside of Sweden for the first time, or was it still just local?
I was just local. This is also a bit sad about David because he didn't want to tour. He was not happy about leaving home. Oh, my dog, he wants to come here. Sorry. Oh, hold on. Yeah, he was preferring to be in the rehearsal room or in his area, so he wasn't feeling very safe, or how shall I say it, going on tour. So, but we played, yeah, in Sweden mostly. Mostly, I mean, yeah, we played in Sweden.
Nice. And then going into 1994, you did the Blood Freezing demo, which I like that. It's just 3 songs, but you all just get like right to the point and no bullshit. So how did that demo come to be?
When you say 3 songs,
Yeah, from Blood Freezing, which is Black Moon Rising, The Call, and Hitler, the most evil man in the world.
yeah, that song Hitler is of course a joke, and wasn't meant to be spread in the.
Nice. I still
So
think that,
that's a joke song, and we were just fooling around. Yeah, it was not to be taken seriously. But
yeah,
what we did with, we wanted to, as we had worked with the Thomas Coxberg and in Sunlight for for quite some time. We wanted to check if we could get a better or another type of sound in other studios. So we booked this studio and did a test recording, and the result turned out pretty good. But when it was time for us later on to to record, that there comes a mini album called Spawned by Evil, and then a full-length Dark Side.
yeah, because I love Spawned by Evil. I especially loved like you did the covers of Die by the Sword by
Yeah,
Slayer, Nightmare, Venom, and
yeah.
Enter the Eternal Fire by Bathory. What made you guys decide to do like cover songs and those songs in particular?
Yeah, again, back to the Blood Freezing demo. We were supposed to go into book that studio to record Spawn by Evil, but it was fully booked, and later on that studio not got bankrupt, but yeah, out of business. So we ended up once again in Sunlight, and why we did covers, it was not like trendy to do covers back then, but yeah, there were some tribute albums here and there, and David decided that he wanted to start a record label of his own, and the first release should be a Bathory tribute album. So we decided to record Spawn by Evil and Enter the Eternal Fire, and have that as a single for the upcoming Dark Side. But then Black Mark, yeah, then Black Mark thought that that 2 songs is you have to release more songs to do a proper release. And yeah, we also had a Slayer compilation coming up, so we had the Slayer song, and then we just added 1 more cover song instead of releasing or recording 1 more of our original tracks. So it ended up with the Spawn by Evil and 3 covers, but 2 of them were supposed to go on tribute albums, but they ended up as on the Spawn by Evil mini album.
Yeah, and I love those covers. Like, you almost kind of like made them like your own in a way.
Yeah, yeah, this is a tribute to our heroes, more or less. Not trying to do something different with it. Yeah, some of the covers on those tribute albums can be very different, and it's very interesting how they make so big change in the song. And what was that? Is that really Slayer? But yeah, we chose doing death metal versions of those classic songs.
Right. And then going into the second full-length album, Dark Side, I like this album because usually with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write, and there's a lot of hype with that. When it came to making Dark Side, did you felt like you pressure to follow up the Nocturnal Silence?
Yeah, David he had quit the band when we recorded that album. It was almost a 4-year gap between the release of the first album and Dark Side, so there was pressure on us. But we always we also lost David as a main guitarist, main songwriter. So I was actually thinking of not quitting the band, but bury the band. How could we continue? And then I was I don't know the English word, but persuade maybe to continue. And me and the other guitar player at that time, we wrote songs that were missing to be able to record a full length. But when we were in the studio, it was, we were going, on all 10,
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, and this album I feel like it's a lot like no dark, hence the name Dark Side. It feels like even like from the album artwork, it just looks fucking brutal. Like you're in for a treat.
Yeah, has someone signed that?
Yeah, I got these all signed by you guys from when I saw you at Maryland Death Fest in 2022.
I remember you now.
Oh shit, nice.
Yeah, it was like, you look so familiar, like I seen you before.
I get that a lot. Like people always say I look like somebody or I've seen them before. I get that a lot.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So what was like the whole album cycle like for Dark Side?
Again, what the word?
Like,
How,
how was like the touring like in support of Dark Side?
again, only in Sweden. Um, we didn't actually play outside Sweden until 1999.
Wow, so
So these were
25
all
years ago.
what? Yeah, yeah. It was playing in a lot of places in Sweden. Still very fun. Playing live is fun. Um, we tried to go on tour, but we didn't have a manager. We had a booking agency. Um, Black Mark said that we are not going to help you on tour, but we can see if Slayer wants you as a support act. Fuck yeah, I said. We believe you. Um, yeah, I talked to my friend Johnny in Unleashed. Maybe you can check if we can play support to when you go on tour, but nothing really happened. But we played a lot in Sweden.
Nice. And then going into the next album, The Third Antichrist, I like it. So what was that like going from Dark Side to The Third Antichrist?
Yeah, um, during the period when we recorded Dark Side, we brought in Sebastian, which is another talented songwriter and guitar player. So he was becoming the main songwriter from the Third Antichrist and forward. So me and him, we lived on the same street when he joined the band. So we hang out a lot and switched ideas, played ideas to each other, and we built many songs together. And he, of course, wrote complete songs of his own. But that was the first Necrophobic without any involvement with David Parland. So it was special in that way. I think it's a great album. I hate the front cover.
Yeah, it's just
uh,
all fiery.
yeah, it was, Photoshop was new, and Sebastian actually had made a very good looking sketch with colors and everything. This is how like I hold the painting here. You can give this to any artist and they will make it look great. But yeah, we should have printed Sebastian's sketch instead. It would have looked a lot better.
Yeah. And this
Yeah,
year
but
does
all in all, it's a good album.
yeah, and this year does mark 25 years of The Third Antichrist. So
Mhm.
so do you have like a certain feeling about the album now as opposed to when you first released it 25 years ago?
Uh, yeah, it was our third album. Uh, I don't remember if we thought that, okay, this is our third album. Shouldn't we have, become a bigger act or something like that? Stuff like that was going through our heads, but we actually came to Germany and Holland on that record, and was pretty late in our career, but still looking back at it now, it's not that how should I say it? Oh, forget it. Yeah, it's not that bad that we didn't come out in Europe until the third album, but
Yeah, better late than never.
yeah, pretty much started to happening on that album.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, just like that whole album is great, especially just like it kicks off with like the fury of blast beats, and I feel like the your drumming on there is just insane. It like the fills that you do throughout is just amazing, and the
Thank you.
spots with like the traditional blast beats going rather faster speed, but it's not a bad thing. I feel like the techniques that you use, it's hard to describe, right? But you just got to listen to it. It's just mind blowing, I
Uh,
should say.
yeah, I'm not the best drummer in the world, but on the same hand, I want to uh, not destroy the song with stupid fills that it's not necessary to be there. Let's focus on let the listener focus on the melody or the guitar solo or the rhythm, the feels. So I'm quite drumming. My drumming is easy, but it's has a really strong point of why I'm playing these simple drums.
All right. And then next up is Blood Hymns. I like
Mm?
this next up is Blood Hymns. I love
Mm?
this album. So tell me about like making this album.
Yeah, we changed record company. That happened during when we were in Holland on the last album. We met a guy called Guido, and he had a record company called Hammerheart. Was it Hammerheart
Yeah,
already?
it's Hammerheart.
It was, yeah, but it then became Carmageddon and then Hammerheart again, and yeah, it was called Hammerheart. Um, so the last album was already finished with Black Mark. So should we go with Black Mark or should we go with this new guy? And we choose to go with this new guy, and we did that album, and then we got on a European tour, and everything was, going up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love like I said, just like the songs on there, like Taste of Black, Dreams
mm.
Shall Flesh, Act of Rebellion, like these are some like fucking metal song titles.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course next up is forgive me if I butchered the next album title,
Mm.
Prim Thursum. Tell me about like that album.
Yeah, it's called Rimtursum. Rimtursum. It's a Icelandic word for frost giants. So you shouldn't focus so much that it's an H as the first letter. You just go directly to the R when you say the title.
Prim Thursum.
Yeah.
Awesome. Some and I also like that the album artwork is just like brutal. It's like it looks like a church on fire or a
Yeah, it's
cathedral.
I don't remember which twin it was now. Niflheim twin. I guess it was Eric who did the cover artwork, but from a very detailed sketch from Sebastian.
Nice.
Uh, and that was the first album that we recorded on our own. We just picked engineer and producer, but we recorded it on our own, more or less, because we were tired of being locked by studio time. We didn't want to feel the pressure from a clock, tick tack, tick tack, tick tack. So that was a big challenge and an experience. But it went really good. I think also that album is when we first have found our foundation, so to speak, for the sound, what we aimed for in the beginning with, as we were not started, we didn't start as a regular death metal, and we have always had this dark black metal thing mixed in with our music, even though it didn't sound like that from day one. But Rimtursum is the first album that's really, this is Necrophobic, with the melody and the eerie feeling, the gloomy, the atmospheric stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Because I think it's like the most like diverse Necrophobic album.
Mm.
Like songs like Citra Ara is very doomy, but with hints of melody, while going into like Eternal Winter, which gives like a very kind of melodic thrashing piece with like black and death metal. Even like the title track has like that sadistic chants of like arcane cult. So it feels like every song has like a different like emotion or like vibe to it.
And still it sounds, like the same band.
Moving on to next album, Death to
Mm.
All. I like
Mm.
that album, but tell me
Mm.
about making Death to All.
We had switched rehearsal place, and we decided Rintersum. We recorded at a friend's basement in his own house. Nothing wrong with that, but we felt that we disturbed his family when we were there, his kids and stuff. And so when we had this new rehearsal place, we said that we can record the album here with our studio equipment. So we did. And yeah, the feeling that we had was maybe Rimtursum in a way sounds too much atmospheric, or is it raw enough? So when we wrote songs for Death to All, they are more like, an opposite to atmospheric. it's really raw of an album. So yeah, we recorded it in our rehearsal studio, and yeah, after that we made a promotion video for one of the songs, and we went on tour with what was it? It was like a big festival tour going on for a month or so in Europe. Yeah, I guess we also come to the US for the first time on that album, on Maryland Death Fest 2010.
Nice. Nice. So what was that like being in the US for the first time for that first Maryland Death Fest that you were a part of?
It was really hot that day. It was like 40 degrees Celsius when and the sun was in our face. 40 degrees Celsius, I don't know how much Fahrenheit that is.
Yeah.
But
It's
it's,
probably pretty hot.
yeah, at least for us Swedes. But I think some Americans also thought it was hot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I know like when I saw you all in 22, you played like indoors. But thankfully it was like nighttime, so you weren't like scorching hot.
yeah, but on last Maryland Death Fest.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was also, I think it was air conditioned in the hall.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of breezy. I remember seeing you play at like 1 in the morning, which is
Yeah,
quite fun.
yeah, that was a good show actually. Yeah, but yeah, we came to US for the first time, and I had been there before, but not playing there. But it was an experience, and it was cool bands that festival also. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And next up we have Womb of Lilithu.
Yeah.
I love this album. You also got signed to Season of Mist. So what was that like working with them on this?
That one has there's a sad story surrounding that album. So our singer at that time messed up his life, not his life, but others' lives, and so he was in jail and when that album was released. So the focus was not on that album from the press or the music. It was focused on what happened to our singer. So apart from that, I think the album is a great album, but it didn't come through as good as it should have come through, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's like musically it has some great songs to it. Like
Yeah,
that intro to Opium Black. Black
yeah.
has like that kind of like soft, kind of like proggy kind of the feel to it, and even like Black Knight Raven has a great opening riff.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit different album, but again, it was, you know, buried and forgotten because of other happenings, so to speak.
Yeah, it's another story for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then kind of going into the next album, Mark of the
Mm.
Necrogram. I love
Mm.
this album. It was actually like my introduction to the band. So tell me about making this album.
Yeah, so during a couple of years, our guitar players Sebastian and Johan was out of the band. So before and we on the previous album we just had one guitar player, and when we played live it was only one guitar player. We couldn't find the right guy to play the second guitar, so we suffered a bit on our live performances. So I had to make a big decision on to fire a guy that is nothing wrong with, great guitar player. He has his studio where we record our albums in, but he cannot play two guitars live, and Necrophobic is two guitarists music. So I had to fire Fredrik and bring back Johan and Sebastian, who was, you know, they had played in a rock band for a couple of years, and they didn't like where that rock band was, you know, heading. It was great from the start, but they headed in a direction that they didn't feel was so much what they wanted. So we started to talk a bit, and yeah, all the nostalgia, I don't know, nostalgia
Yeah.
started to rise, and yeah, and we decided that together, if they were interested to come back, it was more than welcome. So that is a product of Necrophobic having two guitar players back in the band, and Sebastian as a main songwriter.
Yeah, because like having, I feel like having like two guitars makes it sound a lot fuller or heavier because without one it would kind of suffer.
Yeah, because they play, Johan and Sebastian play so different, and so it's not just two guitars playing the same stuff to make it sound fatter or heavier or something. The music is, you know, more how should I say, advanced than that. You know, the combination of the guitars and make it sound bigger, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like the one of my favorite songs is the song Sacrosanct, which is probably like the
Mm.
most fastest song on here. It's just like an ass speeder of a song, and even like the song Pesta, which is sort of like I guess the teaser for the album. I just love this album as well. It's like
Mm.
another one of my favorites, and like I said, this was the album that I discovered you guys on.
Yeah, good album to discover the band. Actually, in fact, I hold that album as one of our best in our career. I have that as a favorite.
Nice. And
Yeah.
then almost done. We got a couple more. We have the last album, Dawn of the Damned. Definitely
Mm.
one of my favorite albums from 2020. Tell me about like making that, because I know there was that certain virus that shall not be named that happened during
Yeah,
the
it was yeah, it was. I don't know if we recorded it during Corona, or no, we maybe it was. There was talk about this virus coming. I guess we were finished in the studio, but we hadn't done the promotion video for it yet. I guess when the promotion video was done, was the day that we shot it. Then we were, keeping distance from each other and was really scared that we're going to get the virus. But that album was, a bit destroyed, so to speak, because of the pandemic.
yeah,
We
can't
couldn't play so
tour at
much.
all.
What?
Yeah, you can't tour at all, and like everybody was stuck at home.
Yeah, but we were one of the few one of the first that made a live show broadcast, even though those who came after us had big productions, but we were there maybe as the first or second band doing a live broadcast show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like everybody was doing great during that time with the live streams, which almost feels like you're actually there, and it's just like it's hard to describe. It makes it just feel like you're actually just there. That's like the closest we're gonna get to seeing like a live show at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we have the new album In the Twilight Gray, which comes out on March 15th through Century Media Records. So, and I've heard like the first song, Stormcrow, which I heard it's fucking awesome. So, what was the writing and recording process like for that?
Yeah, we during the pandemic we also switched bass player. So he's you know him from his time in Dismember and his time in Grave and other bands, but those are the two biggest bands. His name is Tobias Christiansson. So he came into the band in 2021, and I didn't know it until Sebastian told me, but Tobias sent us like 10 or 12 songs that he had written, and not, this is Necrophobic stuff. It's just take a listen to these songs and see if there's something that can be used in Necrophobic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listened to it. I heard some stuff, but I thought it was. I'm not the main songwriter, so maybe that's also why I didn't really understand the music I was listening to, because I was, this is not sounding Necrophobic, but Sebastian has another talent, so he picked up a few ideas and worked with Tobias to necrophobicize.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but
Yeah.
to make it sound necrophobic.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
did he bring in something new to Necrophobic that you all didn't have before?
Obviously music. Since the album kicked off with his songs. I don't know if we haven't had an album out if it weren't for those songs that Tobias sent us. So we have another composer, so to speak, in the band, also a great live performer. Yeah, so what happened with those songs? What Tobias and Sebastian started to work on new music, and all of a sudden, all of us got to hear. Here's the first new song written, and in 1 week later, here are 3 more, and all of a sudden we were, now we're going to record a new album. So it was kind of a surprise for me. I don't know how the other members knew about this, but last year we recorded that album, and yeah, I'm thrilled to have it released, and it's a bit different Necrophobic album, still very much Necrophobic sounding, but I think there are elements that make the Necrophobic sound more dynamic and more interesting.
Right, because you don't want to have a Necrophobic album to sound too much like a Necrophobic album. And you pretty much led me into the next question, because as you definitely wanted to like not continue in the same vein as Dawn of the Damned, you wanted to try to do something different.
Yeah, but still, Necrophobic is not a progressive band either. We are sort of Iron Maiden in death metal, black metal. Like we sound the way we do, and when fans hear us, it's Necrophobic, but still you have to develop some stuff that so it sounds like new or fresh or anything. But we don't step out of the box really. But
Yeah.
I hope this comes through so we understand, because it's not AC/DC either, it's nothing wrong with AC/DC, but it's more than 3 chords and one drum beat.
Yeah, because it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. If you have like your style or formula and you stick with it, people will say like you're saying like in the same album. But if you experiment more, you kind of people will say like you're inconsistent. But because at the end of the day, you gotta like follow what you think is a good kick-ass song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of like talking about like, because I know the band was based in Stockholm with like bands such as like Grave, Dismember, Dark Funeral, Unleashed, and others. So how is like the metal scene in Sweden like for you guys? Did you feel like comfortable being a part of it, or is it you wanted to try to like get outside of your country and play in front of different countries and stuff?
So back when we started, there was this whole scene not started in Stockholm, but it was a big place for this kind of music. So when we started, we wanted to we like death metal, but we, like I said some time ago, we also like the old black metal. So we tried to be a bit different already from the beginning, being having black metal involved in our music. But it was a fun time, seeing this scene from the scratch, with all the bands. I was not friends with all the bands, but with pretty much bands I was friends with, and yeah, many bands still exist today, like Dismember and Grave and not Entombed, sadly. Yeah, but we are still around, and that's a privilege that you can, play music and perform is really cool and fun, and we have the support from, we release albums, we go to the US and play, we go to Brazil and play, and we go everywhere and play, and that's really cool, to be able to do that, because I'm just one heavy metal guy, with interest in music, and I have these opportunities, and I've had them for 30 years.
Yeah. And so kind of like wanted to talk about like your drumming, because of course being a drummer, like the drummer's job is to like keep the beat and tempo, otherwise it'll just end up like an entire bloodbath. So when it comes to like you laying down your parts, do you need to hear what the guitars are doing in order to lay down your parts, or do you usually have like a whole like drum track like written and everything, and the rest of the band writes according to that?
Do you mean when we record or when we play live?
Record.
When we record, we have a click track. So I play. When I do my drum, when I record my drum tracks, I have this click track with the correct BPM. It's annoying to have it in the ears, but it's great to have, that the song is, going in the same tempo throughout the whole song. And when the other instruments are added to it, they also have the click track, so it's, so we play at to the same beat, so to speak, even though I'm doing the beats.
Right. Right. And kind of also wanted to switch topics because I know you also do like graphic design and sort of like layout artwork for like, of course, you're Necrophobic, but you also did stuff with like Fire Spawn and Unleashed. Is there like a similar kind of like method to like creating like visual art versus like creating music?
I don't know really how to do it's a different kind of art. But do you mean if I get where I got inspired, or what's
Yeah, or just if there's like any differences or similarities between the two?
There's always a deadline. No, just joking. Nah, I cannot see any resemblance between those. It's so much difference between them, but they go hand in hand. I don't make paintings, but an artwork is important to express the right feel for the music. So there it goes hand in hand. But the thing that I do when I do graphic design for album artwork for others, and if I do commercial ads for a company, it's totally different things.
Yeah.
But you have to be good at it to let so the customer is happy, or I am happy, or
Yeah, well said. And kind of like talking about your live show because of course the only time I've seen you guys was Maryland Death Fest 2022, and I thought was like seeing you guys play live is different than actually listening to you guys. So how different is it to like playing live versus recording?
When you record, and that recording is going to everyone is going to hear it. It is, you played on in your headphones, on your stereo, in your car stereo, blah. So it has to sound really good. Live is for us at least, is a different thing, because then we are, entertaining you that's in the audience. You shall, you hopefully you are familiar with the songs, so you can do your best to, bring energy into the whole show. But then it's about performing more, making something more than just playing the music that you hear on the stereo.
Nice. Nice. And so kind of like in the end, to wrap things up, what's next for Necrophobic? I know we got the new album In the Twilight Grey coming out in March. Just anything else you'd like to plug in terms of touring and stuff? Is there a chance maybe you could bring Necrophobic to the States for a tour? We'd love to have you.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows booked already now. Unfortunately, nothing in the US for the moment. It's a bit tricky to come and play in your country, actually. A lot of paperwork and stuff like that. And it's very expensive. But with that said, I'm not saying that we're not coming to the US But hopefully something will be booked and worked out there. But we have, yeah, like I said, we had a lot of shows booked elsewhere in the world, so I'm looking forward to that. There will be, yeah, you have heard the new single and the video. Have you seen the video?
Yeah, yeah, it looks fucking badass.
Yeah. So maybe there will be something coming soon, and then in March 15th, album is out, and then we have a couple of shows before that also, but after 15th, the shows that are after the 15th, it's with new songs and new stage props and stuff.
Nice. So thank you, Joakim, for this chat. It's
Yeah.
great to be able to finally have Necrophobic on the show. Is there just any final words you want to say to like the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Yeah, I hope you enjoy the band, and that you will like the new album when it's coming out. And yeah, thank you for all the support throughout all the years that we have existed. Keep it up.
Nice. So everybody, Joakim from Necrophobic, see you next time.